Welcome and good evening, everyone, to the May edition of our Celebrating Malheur Speaker Series in honor of the Friends of Malheur's 25th birthday. Our organization is excited to be celebrating our silver anniversary in a variety of ways, and one of which is this monthly speaker series where we are featuring a variety of perspectives and connections and experiences and expertise with regards to Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for supporting our organization as members and donors and just general enthusiasts that advocate for and support Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Your engagement means a lot to us. So thank you. For those of you who might not know me, I am Janelle Wicks. I'm the Executive Director for the Friends of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. And I would like to thank honorary friend of all of you who are engaged and support our organization. So thank you so much. And we are going to have a really robust set of just images and information and through the presentation with Dominic Bachman here tonight, who is the refuge's aquatic biologist. So I'm not going to waste any more of our time and let him get started. So thank you, Dominic, for being here and sharing with us your view of the lake.
Yeah, thank you. Basically it's a pre-made series of videos that I took over the last 5 years. It's a little clunky, and I hope you bear with me that it's going to perhaps have some issues on your end, but enjoy the parts that you can see. I think it's really, there's some really special things that we're excited to share. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and get started. And go ahead and go into the comments if something is perhaps not working. My name is Dominic Bachman. I'm an aquatic health biologist with the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Today, I'm going to take you on a photographic journey out into the majestic Malheur wetlands. All right, let's go. The story of Malheur Lake is more interesting if you know a little bit about the past. Dug out some of these images from 50s, 60s, and 70s of the hemi-marsh that was out and found in the lake. The lake historically has gone up and down, but it wasn't until the mid-1980s that you see a major change. Water went way up.
Malheur Lake isn't a lake, it's a marsh. It should have emergent vegetation all over it. It should be green. It should have reeds and cattails, and there should be ducks and waterfowl nesting and breeding all over it. And it's not, it's open water because the carp get in there and they stir up the bottom and it becomes turbid. You don't get the emergent vegetation and they don't have the food. The waterfowl don't have the food they need and they can't breed.
We're about a third of the way from the southern shore to the north shore on Malheur Lake. You're looking back towards the Turn Island and headquarters. This area is devoid of life for the most part. The carp have muddied the water so bad that photosynthesis can't occur out here. We're in about 3 feet of water right now, but you can only see about a ½ inch below the surface of the water.
These next couple videos are from 2019, 2020. You can see chocolate milk, highly turbid water everywhere. Very little vegetation except for on the very fringes of the wetlands. Very stark contrast to what we have today. Here we are coming out of the mouth of the Blitzen River into the heart of Malheur Lake. During this time, there's very little vegetation when you get out into the lake. However, we started to notice just some sprinkling of some attempts at emergent vegetation in 2020, 2021, starting to expand out into an area called Briggs Bay. One of our sampling sites on the southern shore had just a few scatterings of hardstem bulrush trying to take off out into the lake. How is this happening? Time to start figuring this out. Let's do this. Let's do the field work. Let's get in the lab. Let's bring in all the partners, masters, PhD, USGS research partners. Let's figure this thing out. It's been a long time coming. Vegetation, water quality, water count. Let's get out there and let's figure it out. Nobody can really appreciate the vastness, the remoteness, the difficulty, the sweat, blood, and tears that go into work on the lake. Fieldwork on Malheur Lake is brutal. Dedicated field biologists. Trying to engineer and design something in a remote place that would allow waves to go through, but not water. It takes a huge amount of people, time, money, resources, dedication.
Start going back to normal. Like you want to continue to shift back? Exactly.
I'm being too entertained right now.
Yep. The sand is a bit wet.
Weather is always difficult and extreme.
Too far, just far enough that they'll stick. So we have all these clumps. We're the same size. You can see this is part of the same size, but it doesn't have the wind panels on it. And then the controls, you can see T-posts just kind of chilling there.
Nicely done.
Sloppy mud. Having fun yet?
That's gonna be the only time on the lake for actually.
It looks like one of those. I like Halloween. You know, they like break someone. They make it look like they stuffed this person's legs all messed up. Some transplants we put in midsummer. Lots of new shoot growth. Looking really good. See some other up there. This is some we just put in just about a week ago. Just so you can see it's almost September. It's pretty late in the year. We'll see if these ones do as well, but good substrate for them here. This is what they look like when they're first planted. This is just for insurance, solely for insurance purposes. We want that Darwin Award. We gotta have video proof that it happened. This is fun. Is this not fun? Seems fun. That smells awful. She's like, yeah, as long as I rest for a moment. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about invasive common carp and how they affect Malheur Lake and how we affect them.
An abundance of submergent and emergent vegetation once helped to keep Malheur Lake clear and its ecosystem healthy. These plants calmed disturbances in the water, and their roots held sediments on the lake bed in place.
Although people historically altered elements of this ecosystem, Malheur Lake remained relatively healthy until the mid-20th century. Then, in the 1950s, a major threat entered the lake: non-native common carp. Introduced into Sylvie's River in the 1920s, these fish gradually found their way into Malheur Lake, launching a sequence of events that would be devastating for decades to come. Lacking predators, carp are remarkable invaders. They can grow to 20 pounds and live for 40 years. A female carp can produce about 1 million eggs each year. In low water years, they can burrow into the lake bed to wait for better conditions.
It's not just their size, lifespan, or fertility that make carp such a threat to Malheur Lake. As bottom feeders, carp use suction to capture food from the lake bed. This type of foraging uproots plants and stirs sediments through the water, creating a turbid or muddy environment, preventing sunlight from reaching plants below the surface. In fact, the extreme turbidity in Malheur Lake now extinguishes all sunlight at a depth of only 8 inches.
Without sunlight, plants die and their root systems decompose, leaving nothing to hold the sediments down. Carp, in the lake for decades now, are considered a problem initiator.
Officials have been trying for decades to control and remove carp from Malheur Lake. This year, Mother Nature is serving them up on a platter. The lake is so low, carp are leaving the lake and concentrating in the Blitzen River, where wildlife managers are scooping them up by the ton. Tell me about the operation we're seeing today.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got people doing certain projects, certain parts of the job.
We've been using a couple of different methods. Right now, we're electroshocking with some hand wands in the river. And what that does is the shocking stuns the carp. And then as the carp are stunned, we net them up and then we move the carp to a loader.
These are big fish that weigh an average of 15 pounds. Good reflexes are required to net them, strength to carry them, and coordination to toss them into bins for collection. Here on the refuge, the carp are being thrown with a bit of vengeance because they inflict serious damage on the ecosystem.
Malheur Lake at one time could produce up to about 150,000 birds.
What kind of production do you see these days?
Nothing.
And it's changed that much.
It's changed.
Do it. Let's see it. Let's see it. No video. You gotta make it to the ground. Manager up there working hard.
Well done. Got yourself some mud carp.
All right, we're gonna eat well tonight. Gross.
Work together, guys. Herd them together. Yeah. Man down, man down. You got him. Oh, that's a hog. Fish, we got fish. Oh, woman down on video. Hey, this is an expensive fish. Oh, that's a hog. Don't break my net. Crazy. So this is it. This is the spot right here that the lake at one point was 16 feet deep.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead, stay dead and out of this world. Run fast, don't stand in the sun. There's too much work to be done. You're down, you're down, you're down, you're down and out of this world. Don't ever talk with your eyes. Be sure that
Oh my. Fish. Love the smell of carp in the morning. Yum.
stay dead, stay dead, stay dead, stay dead and out of this world. Fast, don't stand in the sun. There's too much work to be done. You're down, you're down, you're down, you're down and out of this world.
Bring out today. Bring out today.
Don't ever talk with your eyes. Be sure that you compromise. You're dead, you're dead.
Don't let it go in. Don't let it go in there. You gotta. Oh, grab it with your teeth, dude.
There we go.
Oh,
I got it.
thank God. Thank God. Oh, don't let it go in there.
You hated it, Rebecca. You just gave that a little push.
Yeah.
His tails are caught on the edge.
Oh my God, yes. That would have been better.
Tags, which are just these little tiny tags that they insert into the abdomen, and they have a big antenna that sticks out of them, like another couple inches long.
Wow.
And the fish carry them totally fine. But this station, inside of that box, is a little receiver.
There's a bone. Oh, you found it! Let's see it. Pull it out.
Pull it. Got the antenna.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Here in the death zone. One of our fish tags has went terrestrial, eaten by bird, most likely. Oh, we're getting closer. See it.
Right here.
There it is. Trout tag. It was in a red band trout on the what's left of the Malheur Lake. And for our next segment, strange things you can probably only find on Malheur Lake. Enjoy.
Cool things about them that can destroy them or bury them in the dirt. Try and get rid of them out of that.
Yeah.
They were eggs.
Yes, it is.
That's all eggs.
Got bugs. Well, certainly some bug habitat anyways.
Let it go for a run. But it's hard right away.
A mule deer in the absolute middle of the chocolate milk. Yep, just a regular everyday occurrence. Pronghorn in the middle of the lake. Videos never do justice to the sheer amount of birds when Malheur Lake has food. Almost all these birds that you can see are all northern pintails.
You guys think we're your mama?
Mom must be pretty big and ugly.
Yeah, must be confusing when you think that an airboat is your mother, but
Or hauling.
it is apparently the case with these young goslings. Hi guys, I think you should make good choices, and I don't think you're doing that.
Yeah, good choice. Like, don't follow us. James, give them some bread. They're hungry. Oh my God. What are we at the park right now? These birds have never seen a human before. They are in love with us. This video really doesn't do justice to how terrifying this ice training module on the airboat was. In 2019, I caught my first glimpse of a small lens of clear water you can see here, trying to fight its way out into the muck. A few years later, after the drought, we're lucky to see an incredible amount of clear water. Check out that clear water. How cool is that? I can see the bottom for the first time in 5 years. In the summer of 2023, we were so inspired by the clear water that we brought in an underwater photographer, Conrad Gowell. He got some incredible photos and videos I'd like to share with you. Now in this video, I want you to note these plastic structures, mesocosms, and there's basically no vegetation. In the video that follows is going to show a more recent video of this area.
You know, I could look at clear water on Malheur Lake all day long, but we've still got a ways to go before restoring the lake. Some exciting news, and you have to use a little imagination. These next 3 videos are about the future. 3 projects that we recently got funded that are going to be happening out on Malheur Lake. Using new technology, using data we've collected and research things we've discovered on the lake. Enjoy.
We have this electric guidance system that is positioned all the way across the stream. So as the fish are migrating, they can't cross it. They're deflected by it at an angle. And that electric guidance system leads them into a trap. So they can enter the trap, which is really a large fenced-in area. Once they are inside the trap, they tend to aggregate there. And once enough of them aggregate inside the trap, we close the door behind them.
So we close the gate up and then, they're trapped in there. You get a call early in the morning, everyone's all pumped up. There's a bunch of fish.
So we turn those electrodes one and then another and another. And by doing so, we aggregate the fish really tightly in the lower end of the trap. And that leads to a narrow channel that leads to a conveyor belt that sits in the water at an angle. So the fish are aggregating tightly and eventually they are over the conveyor. And we start getting them out of the stream. And that takes them on another conveyor and that takes them on land. And when they are exiting that second conveyor, they drop into a sorting table and they slide through an antenna that scans them. So if a fish is tagged, it scans the tag and records it into the computer. So at the end of the day, we can look at the data. We know how many fish we caught and we know how many of them were tagged. So we know what percentage of the population we caught.
We are exploring the Trojan sex chromosome eradication strategy. So this is just releasing either YY males, also known as super males, or YY females into an invasive population. And so what happens when these YY males mate with or spawn with a wild type female is that you will only get male offspring from that cross. And so these are just individuals that are homozygous for the male coding region. You can also phenotypically sex reverse a YY individual, so it's an egg-bearing YY fish, and have them spawn with wild type individuals in your study system or in your system that you're managing. And the benefit of that is that 50% of the cross from that will roughly be these super males. And so these will continue to propagate this eradication strategy by producing just all males. So eventually the sex ratio with enough introductions of these YY fish is going to skew that population towards all male and make it inviable.
that's the update for the Malheur Lake wetlands. If that doesn't get you excited about wetlands, I don't know what will. Okay. That was the presentation. And I see we have a couple of questions in the chat. Is there any questions that anyone wants to start off with that didn't make it to the chat?
Hey, Dominic. No, I don't think so. It seems like if we could address the comments and questions in the chat, that'd be a good place to start.
Sure. I'll start from the bottom from what I can see. I'm just seeing these now. I like the breeding strategy that has good potential for a long-term solution. Yeah, as far as that goes, we'll see. There's still some things that have to happen, but we do have some funding that we recently got that would help fund this if it became a reality and something that the refuge decided to do. Malheur Lake is a really ideal situation for that because of it's a closed system. And as you can see, the population cycles up and down, and at a low population cycle, we could potentially swamp the population and actually have no more carp in Malheur Lake. Next question was, Dan, what is the objective of this? How do you measure success? If even one female is left, that's potentially 1 million new eggs. Well, I sort of just addressed that at the end. This probably came in earlier that we do actually have a strategy for that. Now, as far as the objectives for this is 5 different projects all mashed into, dozens of different projects all mashed into one video. So it didn't really specifically describe one project. We had a big component of this was the telemetry project, where we were trying to figure out where the carp are going, which actually led us to where we need to put the electronic barrier, because there's a barrier that the carp, there's an area that the carp are using. And so that was one of the objectives. Some of it is part of our just fish passage monitoring that we're required to do, removal of invasives, annual. We just do that. I realize that isn't necessarily going to affect the entire population. I see in the chat that some folks were upset about the carp, and some of the maybe some of the film was a bit graphic. Invasive species are, maybe I get a little callous to it as a biologist, spending a lot of time working my whole career on trying to get rid of invasive species, has maybe a little bit different feel for it. But I do apologize for anyone who was upset by the specifics of the video. It's a big dynamic of our work is getting rid of carp and other invasive species here at the refuge is a big part of our work here. And again, I do apologize for anyone who was upset by that. I think that's all that I see in there. If anyone has any other questions, a lot of exciting things happening out on the lake.
Yeah, and I will mention that there is an article in the newsletter that came out today about the e-barrier that's going to be going in. So lots of great information if you're interested in that project and what's happening and how it's being funded and how it plays into the larger picture. get your newsletter out and read that. It just came out this morning. If you don't receive the Friends of Malheur newsletter, you can do that directly from our website, or you can email me and I can connect you to that listserv. And we do have a few more minutes, so if anyone wants to pop another question in and ask anything of Dominic about his work on the lake, work about the mesocosm research, different projects that have happened over the years, please feel free at this time to do that. Kind of a quiet room. There was a lot to take in there.
It looks like Ken, this particular, there was just so much going on at the lake. It was hard to talk about all the different projects and get into all the details. You'd never fit it within an hour, but did show some of the mesocosm wind wave action work and showed some parts where we were trying to figure out some ways to clear up the water column. And maybe even use some sediment, sand to hold down the water column, showed a few parts with that, but showed some parts of Louisiana State University, Beth Boose's study on emergent vegetation. She was looking at some of the factors in growth, what was the limiting factors in growth. And obviously you saw we have some interesting mud there, and a lot of sediment work where we're trying to figure out is a sediment a barrier to emergent and submergent growth. There's another question that said, what vegetation are you planting? Well, we're actually transplanting. Mostly I attempted a whole bunch of different things over the last few years. The most successful one was hard stem bulrush. That particular one worked out really well to transplant. Also tried cattail, aquatic smartweeds, alkali bulrush, and several other things that we tried that weren't super successful. So I didn't really show it in the video, but because of the timing of the lake going down and the vegetation sort of racing out across, the plots that we did manually by hand were sort of unimpressive now that there's so much vegetation across the lake. But before all that happened, it was really impressive. You saw where we planted some little clumps just lifted by hand, and some of those are 20 feet by 20 feet with 5 different species there. So good timing with no carp and with no carp and good clear water. So Ken typed something and then deleted it maybe.
We do have a few more minutes if anyone has any burning questions. Well, with that, I will take a few minutes opportunity just to say, where was there any ice damage this winter to the vegetation, I presume?
Yeah, Ken, I think there was some. Honestly, our budget has been absolutely dire at the refuge, and they've been limiting. If I don't have a specific reason, we're not even allowed to go out on the lake right now. But so I only have been out one time, and I thought it looked really good in the area that I specifically went, in that a lot of vegetation was around. I was guessing like 90-95% survived. One of the other biologists, Alexa, she felt that there were some sections that were damaged by the ice. Yeah, so this next question from Catherine, it looks like, do we feel that this carp removal effort was successful and effective? It absolutely was. So not last year, but the year before in the fall, we removed probably the most carp that got the population down to the lowest it's been since probably a rotenone treatment in 92. And then before then, probably from like the 1930s. So it's been a long time since we've had so few carp. Last year, the entire year that I was doing work out on the lake, I never saw a single carp. And it really was good timing because it hit the lake at a time when conditions were ideal for growth. And so removing those carp and giving the lake a couple of years to grow back, I would expect with the flooding we've had the last couple of years, that we will have a massive breeding year this year of what I would guess, probably less than 1,000 carp total in the lake. Adult breeding carp, all of those will breed most likely this month or June, and then again in September. So there will be about 3 years from now, there will be a huge population again. That's where the YY carp research really comes into play. And this electronic barrier would stop almost all the carp that we remove from the system. We're in an area that this electronic barrier that we recently funded will actually stop them from going there. So they will be much more limited in low water years and not have anywhere to go. Invasive species is generally a constant battle. So we will likely have to repeat this for many years, even with YY carp. But we're really excited to be using some partnerships and some technologies that will maybe make this easier and possibly more effective, and possible 100% removal. We could have carp removed, and I believe that could happen in the next decade, which is something that no biologist over the last 50 years could say.
Great. Well, with that, it is 5 o'clock, and I am going to just wrap things up by thanking Dominic for putting together that program and for being with us this afternoon. I'm going to remind everyone that this speaker series is happening every first Thursday of the month for the rest of the year. So in June, you'll catch Carrie Goss, a refuge wildlife specialist. She's going to talk about the field trips, the educational programs that we work on together, that the Friends support through the refuge to reach out to local Harney County youth. We're in July, we're going to hear from Teresa Wicks, whose presentation in March was canceled due to travel needs to attend the Public Lands Alliance conference in San Francisco. In August, we're going to hear from Emily Gooch, who's coming on board this month as Friends of Malheur's seasonal biological technician. That's going to be assisting with a lot of the refuge's biological program support needs. So she's going to have a really rich and engaging summer employment experience, and we're going to get to hear all about it in August. So stay tuned, read your newsletters, stay involved and connected through our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram, and we hope to see you again here next month. All right, thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Dominic.